Parents in Prince William County are working hard to get their kids back in school and learning again after the disruptions of COVID. But after what we saw yesterday, two walkouts at two schools in Prince William County, Forest Park and Woodbridge Senior High School, we have to ask, is the school division really upholding its end of the bargain when it comes to doing everything it can to protect the students who actually come to school, whether it be to learn or anything else? Well, yesterday's massive walkout shows us that things in Prince William County are spiraling out of control. Hello, everyone. I'm Uriah Kaiser. I'm the founder and publisher of Potomac Local News. This is an opinion. I am opining after what I saw yesterday. So, for those who are normally used to coming to us for straight news, this is an opinion because I'm completely blown away by what we saw yesterday on February 13th. 2026, where at Woodbridge Senior High School, over 250 students walked out of campus in what became a chaotic protest of ICE policies and Donald Trump in the White House in Woodbridge. And what happened in the early afternoon of Friday, February 13th, these more than 250 students, they essentially walked out of class and then walked off campus down Old Bridge Road in Lake Ridge. It's a busy 4-lane road. They blocked traffic, and videos show them swarming a nearby grocery store while police look on while this is happening. I had the video here. Let me pull that up. This is the video that we're seeing that was shared with us. This looks to be the Glen Shopping Center right there across from the Chen Center Library. Let me blow this up so we can see it a little better. But there you have students carrying pride flags and signs, running into this, what is a Safeway store in Woodbridge. And then you have what appears to be a Prince William County police officer right there in that car, in that blue car, that blue SUV, lights flashing, blocking traffic. So people cannot get to the store, to the business. Obviously, cars here stuck in the middle of all this. Noon, 12:30 on a Friday afternoon when most people are out about their day, getting groceries, getting things for their family, getting things for their homes. And you have 250 students who otherwise would be in school coming in and mobbing the place, right? You've got, here's a picture of what it looked like inside that Safeway. So here's a picture, here's that video again. And the police obviously doing nothing to stop it. It's just a free for all here in Lake Ridge. And so what we've seen in all this, we had several people post that they, were caught in the traffic. They were late to their appointments. They were very surprised to see the students. We have another picture here, if I can find it. Them walking down Old Bridge Road. Maybe this is it. There it is. Walking them down Old Bridge Road here, taken out. Looks like that to be near Tackett's. Not actually sure. Not quite sure where that is, but it is clearly on Old Bridge Road. We know that. I can't make out the cross street, and so because Woodbridge Senior High School is located on Old Bridge Road. So, what we have is students who are deciding that they no longer want to be in class, and they're just going to walk out. They're going to walk out, go wherever they want. What the schools so here's what the school told us. This happened yesterday. They walked out. The school says they're supposed to be on campus, right? So the official rule of all this, they can walk out of class, but they're not supposed to leave campus, right? They're not supposed to walk off school grounds, and they can stand in the parking lot, which Forest Park High School did yesterday, and we'll get to that. They can hold signs. They can just have their school division says the children have a constitutional right to protest, but they cannot leave school grounds, and that is punishable by the code of behavior. Well, it's interesting because they walked right off, and it wasn't one or two. It was more than 250 kids with flags and signs that just decided they didn't want to be in school anymore. They were just going to go down to the grocery store and mob that place, And I can tell you this: I worked retail. One of my first jobs was in Potomac Mills Mall. It's at a retail store, and it was in the '90s, I believe 1998. Dating myself, but at that time, Potomac Mills was a very busy, and I'm sure it still is. I don't know the numbers now, but it was a tourist destination, right? In 1996, Potomac Mills was ranked Virginia's #1 tourist destination. You had people not just from Woodbridge or Manassas, you had people from Maryland, from Pennsylvania, from South Carolina, North Carolina, taking buses to come to what was then promoted as a major outlet mall. It was a place where you could get good brand name labels very cheap, and so the branding of the mall, the advertising, the whole art, it's really changed over the years. But back then, I used to bust people in from all over the East Coast to come to that mall, and it would get busy on the weekends. And we knew that when people came in the stores got really packed and busy. That's when we knew that things could get broken, things could get stolen. Things, we could miss things. We could mess up because we're so busy trying to, help customers and maintain the crowds and making sure that the store continued to operate. I just wonder how the employees of that grocery store handled it when in the afternoon, in midday, 250 essentially kids walked in with flagpoles and signs and decided that they were going to go mob that store, and then to look outside and see police officers just kind of like blocking traffic so they could get in and do that. you know it's beyond me, what we saw there. And we did, I did get a statement from the police department. They said they didn't notice any major disruption. We posted that story on potomaclocal.com. Didn't notice any major disruption, though we received here at Potomac Local reports that the store was vandalized. I don't have any reports that anything was stolen, but the police tell us that other than the traffic disruptions, wasn't that bad. And so one would imagine that we always hear how bad traffic is and how much money we have to spend to fix traffic. 250 kids walking down the street when they should be in school, that's enough to block traffic on any day. Doesn't really matter, what time of day you do that. So police tell us again, they're on the scene, but instead of clearly stopping the mob or stopping truant kids, right? I mean, you're supposed to be at school, and here they are walking down the street, blocking traffic, mobbing this store. They're just essentially escorting them, allowing that to happen right there. So we have to look at the lack of control through now. I mean, we're focused on this at the administrative level, right? So Superintendent of Schools, Dr. LaTanya McDade, she's been pushing hard for better attendance this year. She's told us the impact that COVID had on children and the learning. And we have to remember that Virginia, under then Governor Ralph Northam, a Democrat, he was the first governor in the state to shut schools down, setting the trend for what would become, just adopted by nearly every state, not all, but nearly every, of kids being forced to go home, learn on screens, be away from friends, activities, teachers, mentors. We saw, in addition to the drop in scores, we saw a lot of social and emotional damage, and in some cases suicide, because these kids were sent home and were not allowed to come to the school building where they have all their resources. And not every kid had a wonderful home life. and having to be around, potentially people who did not care for them took their toll as well. So we can't forget all that. And so, when we look at them saying, "Well, come back to school," they can't learn if they're not here. Well, what's the point of get kids back into school if administrators can't keep them there? So kudos to the responsible parents who are listening to Dr. McDade and the school board and all these administrators and getting their kids back into school. But if the schools are just letting them walk out midday, disrupting classes for people who want to be there, who are trying to learn, what's the point? What I part of that, I'm going to pull up what we've seen here with these. Part of the scores, the SOL scores that we've been talking about are these the academic scores in Prince William County. And some of them are still well below pre-COVID, right? So pulling this up here on Grok, the Student Standards of Learning Test Measure, post-COVID, mainly districts in Prince William County saw declines in pass rates due to remote learning disruptions in 2020 and 2021. As in-person attendance resumed, PWCS reemphasized regular school attendance to rebuild academic and social skills, as highlighted by Superintendent LaTanya McDade's calls for consistent schooling and minimal closures. For example, 2-hour delays during weather events, right? We had a major storm here, January 25th. Schools were closed for a week and a half. And I remember during the first week of school closures, McDade said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to buck the trend. We're going to buck the system. We're going to buck every other school division in the Washington, D.C. area. We're going to go back 2 hours late on one of those days." And my eyes popped out and I said, "Wow, that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold." I couldn't actually believe it because every other division for days had been closed. Now, they didn't end up going back. It's my understanding that they had a lot of bus drivers call out saying they didn't want to drive in those conditions. And so the school division reversed it and they were closed for an additional 2 to 3 days after that. So, but again, being hardcore about going to school, getting students in classes, but yet letting them leave whenever they want to mob a grocery store doesn't make any sense. So back to these scores here. In-person participation correlates with recovering and exceeding pre-pandemic levels in some areas. So writing surpassed 2018, 2019's. However, science and math are still lagging behind pre-19 highs. So right here, here are the numbers from 2021 through 2025. Reading held steady to post 2022, but remains below COVID. I'm sorry, below pre-COVID rates. Writing, we've seen a strong rebound for Prince William County in writing, holding steady, now above pre-pandemic levels. Mathematics has seen some steady gains, but still far from pre-COVID levels, which was 83% proficiency pre-COVID. Now it's at 75. And for history and science, consistent improvement with 4% jump in 2025. It outperforms state averages significantly here. So they're doing very well in history and social science. In science, recent gain, 4 percentage points, but lowest overall rates. Labs experiments benefit from in-person attendance. So overall, PWCS has outperformed state averages in nearly every category in 2022, with gains tied to post-COVID recovery efforts. However, chronic absenteeism remains a barrier, as noted in state reports, reinforcing why administrators stress attendance for academic success. So, as I mentioned earlier, this wasn't the only school that walked out. Forest Park High School walked out as well during the morning hours of Friday, February 13th. We understand that they did not leave the campus. They protested in the parking lot. There were some fights that broke out, as there were earlier in the week when Osbourn High School students walked out of class about an hour, well more than an hour before dismissal, into the parking lot. Same protest, same ice, get ice out is what they're saying, while administrators look on. And there were some fights that broke out there as well. I had kids texting me through social media saying, "Mr. Geiser, we have fights going on in our parking lot. Here's what's happening." So thank you to the students who are keeping us in the loop, right? Whether no matter what side of the aisle, if you believe you should be out there protesting, if you're staying in class because you want to learn, um, whatever you believe, we certainly appreciate getting those text messages, and because we then can put that out and tell people what's going on. At least people will know what's happening in their communities. Thank you for sending those. Um, so I'll have to go back. I also attended school in Prince William County. I went to Hilton High School, and I remember, if I knew that if I went out that door, tried to leave campus by junior and senior year, I actually drove to school. I was privileged, right? I had an old beater truck, drove to school. I know that if I got in my car and tried to leave, there was not only security cameras on the doors, um, at the doors, but there was a security guard in the parking lot that sat in his car all day long, and I don't know what, listen to the radio. I played Game Boy. Obviously, this is 1990, graduated in 2000, so it was really before iPhones. Um, they would ask you. I mean, they would say, "Are you? Where are you going? Why are you leaving?" And most importantly, do your parents know you're leaving? What do your parents have to say about this? And we knew better, right? We weren't allowed to just go anywhere we want, but things have changed. And it's apparently now more important for the administrators to let the kids disrupt class, go wherever they want, all in the name because Orange Man bad. They don't like the president that's currently in office, and so they've they've determined that because they don't like the president in the office, they can kind of go wherever they want and go as they please. Um, so that's important to them, obviously. So you have to wonder, when I'm sending my kids back to school and making sure that they're where they're supposed to be as a parent, you know, do I need to worry about the school division doing everything they possibly can to literally prevent my kid from going and playing in traffic outside of the school building? Well, you have your answer.